I didn't have much there in terms of how the story was going to be, except the fact, um, when I was 19, I was backpacking through Europe. Met a girl named Andy Reefman. Andy was engaged to a guy named Fred Fenster. Um, they were from LA. I met Fred. Fred was his 20s then, and Fred had gone to UCLA Law School and had taken the bar. And I asked him, what happens if you don't pass? He said, you take it again. I said, what if you don't pass then? Take it again. How many times can you take it? Many times as you want. Well, what's the most someone has taken it, failed, and then finally passed? And he said 13 times. And I thought, well, imagine you're driving through the deep south, you're arrested for a murder you did not commit. And the only lawyer you can use is that guy. So that was basically the idea for my cousin. Um, uh, how he became a Brooklyn guy, I don't know. I think it really had more to do with I had a friend uh, who was 6'5", big bone guy, kind of scary looking guy. Was a drummer for a band called Black Pearl, and he was the original bassist when I thought of it, because he would act a little goofy, talk a little goofy, but he wasn't goofy. He would just do that because he had a scary look. And so the idea of a big scary guy like him, or let's say like Luca Brazzi, right, walks into a courtroom with a briefcase and he's wearing a suit and tie, and someone asks him, "He said, where's the lawyer?" And he's, "I am the lawyer," right? So the idea of a thug who discovers he's actually smart and ends up going to law school, right? And that to me was an interesting character. The reason we got Joe was because of Ruthless People. And Ruthless People had a short Italian guy. Danny was attached at one time to my cousin Vinny, you know. Danny as a gigolo, Danny DeVito, why not? Danny DeVito as a thug, yeah, come on. Anyways, um, I thought Joe Pesci would have the acting chops for it, but I wasn't sure if he had the threatening countenance to him. And he had been cast, and then the movie Goodfellas came out, and he's clearly one of the scariest characters in movie history, right? Uh, so that worked. I thought that worked. Um, anyway, so I had this idea for a movie. I had a three-picture deal with Fox. Uh, One script had already been written, which was Love Potion number 9. And then I had to go write another script. So I went in and pitched two ideas. One was My Cousin Vinny, the other was called Joe Safety. They preferred Joe Safety. And I said, I don't know if I want to write that one. I'm going to write the other. And they go, okay, that's fine. So I wrote My Cousin Vinny. But I wanted to do some research because I didn't know exactly what the story was going to be yet. I want to take a trip to the South. I fly to New Orleans, pick up a Ford Probe, drive north. You go into Mississippi, spent the night in Jackson. Then I went east into Alabama, stayed at a place called Butler, knocked on the door of the assistant district attorney, and we ended up having a nice long chat. He looked a little like the actor Lane Smith, who ended up playing the prosecutor in the movie. He then told me a story about how he used to be a public defender or a defense criminal attorney. But he got a little tired of getting off the bad guys and wanted to put some of the bad guys. So, and that's exactly what the character in my And I remember in Butler going to breakfast at a restaurant, and it just had a chalkboard that said breakfast, lunch, dinner with prices. Didn't say anything about what it is. Whatever it is, they tell you what it is. Special of the day, um, or whatever they had to get rid of that. I remember I always, when I travel, go into supermarkets. When I travel, especially out of the country, because you just see different products, different things, different names, different cultures. You learn a lot about it. And I remember, above, the aisle, somebody might say spices, sugar, cereal, cookies, but up there they had something and it said grit. So you had grits, had its own little name tag above the aisle. I figured, grits really says South. So, and that's part of the reason that the grits got into them. So